All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Anuja Kumar and with me is Sarabjit Kaur. The headlines. Nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive to cover senior citizens and people above 45 years with comorbidities begins today. Registration for vaccination to open at 9 this morning at www.cowin.gov.in. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets vaccinated at AIIMS, New Delhi. Appeals people to come forward for vaccination to make the country corona-free. 10,000 government hospitals to provide free of cost vaccine. Private hospital to charge 250 rupees per dose. Odisha makes corona test mandatory for people arriving from 5 states. Class 1 to 5 in schools to open today in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Last date for filing of GST returns for 2019-20 fiscal extended till 31st of this month. Budget session of Maharashtra and Gujarat assemblies begins today. Bidding for 6th round of spectrum auction for radio waves to start today, and Vinesh Phogat bags gold in Ukraine wrestling event. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. The nationwide COVID-19 vaccination phase to cover senior citizens and people above 45 years with comorbidities will begin today. The registration for vaccination will open at 9 this morning at www.cowin.gov.in. Citizens will be able to register and book an appointment for vaccination anytime and anywhere using the CoWIN 2.0 portal or through other IT applications such as Arogya Setu. The vaccine will be administered free of cost at 10,000 government hospitals to these groups, while the cost of the vaccine at around 20,000 private vaccination centers will be borne by the people. Private hospitals can charge up to 250 rupees per dose of COVID-19 vaccine during the vaccination drive. Union Health Ministry has said the states has been given freedom to use all private hospitals empaneled under state government health insurance schemes as COVID vaccination centers. The states can also use health facilities of all PSUs and all government health facilities as COVID vaccination centers. The states and UTs were already explained about the simplified process of registration. This will show the government and private hospitals serving as COVID vaccination centers with the date and time of the available schedules. The beneficiary would be able to choose the COVID vaccination centers of his or her choice and book an appointment for vaccination. States have been apprised of the simplified system of certifying people with 20 comorbidities within the 45 to 59 years age group. The simplified one-page certificate will be signed by any registered medical practitioner. The certificate can either be uploaded on CoWIN 2.0 by the beneficiary while self-registering, or a hard copy can be carried by the beneficiary to the COVID vaccination centers. Our correspondent has filed this report.
The eligible persons will be able to register at the CoWIN 2.0 portal. The user can log in at the portal with OTP from their registered mobile number. With one mobile number, a person can register as many as 4 beneficiaries. To avail online registration, the citizens can use photo identity documents like Aadhaar card, electoral photo identity card, passport, driving license, PAN card, NPR smart card, and pension document with photographs. The citizens can schedule themselves to the available time slots for vaccination at nearby COVID vaccination center. Citizens can download the confirmation of the appointment, and it will also be shared through SMS on their registered mobile number. The government has identified 20 specified comorbidities that will prioritize individuals for the COVID-19 vaccination. They include heart failure with hospital admission in past 1 year, post-cardiac transplant, kidney and liver transplant recipient or on wait list, leukemia, lymphoma, HIV infection, diabetes and hypertension, on treatment and severe respiratory disease with hospitalization in the last 2 years. With a view to strengthen the COVID vaccination capacity significantly, large number of private facilities is being involved in this vaccination drive. Around 10,000 private hospitals impaneled under Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, 687 hospitals impaneled under CGHS and other private hospitals impaneled under state government health insurance schemes can participate as COVID vaccination centers. With Dipendra Anand Kumar, AIR News, Delhi.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today took the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine at AIIMS in New Delhi. In a tweet, Mr. Modi appealed to all those who are eligible to take the vaccine. He said it is remarkable how our doctors and scientists have worked in quick time to strengthen the global fight against COVID-19. The Prime Minister said, "Let us together make India COVID-19 free." Sister P. Niveda from Puducherry administered co-vaccine to Mr. Modi. The Prime Minister is seen wearing a gamcha of Assam, which is symbolic of blessings of women from Assam. He has been seen wearing it on many occasions. The Prime Minister went to AIIMS without any route on the roads in the early morning to ensure no inconvenience to people.
In Uttar Pradesh, primary schools will open today for class 1 to 5. To ensure the safety of students, classrooms will be sanitized. Arrangements for thermal screening, face masks, social distancing and first aid will also be ensured in all schools. The government has released a weekly class-wise timetable for attendance so that all classes do not attend school every day. More details on this from our Lucknow correspondent.
After a gap of almost 1 year, the life will be back in the primary schools who wore a deserted look during corona pandemic. Education department has also made preparations for grand welcome of the kids. Kids will be welcomed by their teachers at the gates on the beats of band baja and a piece of sweet. But nothing will be as usual as it was. Some of the most obvious differences will be the increased sanitization of classrooms and buses, teachers and children wearing masks and other protective gears, frequent temperature checks and hand washing, and new rules that allow for as much social distancing as possible. Means no tiffin sharing and no exchange of books, pencil, rubber and other stationery. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
In Bihar, all schools of class 1 to 5 will open from today. Schools have been closed since March 14 last year due to corona pandemic. Earlier schools of class 9 to 12th and class 6th to 8th were opened. The Health Minister, Mangal Pandey, said schools have to follow COVID protocols. The detailed standard operating procedures, SOPs, include compulsory wearing of face mask, social distancing and 50% occupancy. All government school teachers have been instructed to remain present at their respective schools. However, no sick teacher or student will be allowed to enter inside the school premises. Bihar government has decided to bear the cost of COVID-19 vaccination at private hospitals in the state. This decision was taken at a meeting chaired by Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. Registration for the new phase of vaccination will begin at 10 a.m. today. It could be done in 3 ways: self-online registration, on-the-spot registration and cohort registration, in which Asha workers, Anganwadi workers and local representatives will be roped in to mobilize large number of people. During online registration, people can select the center and time slot of their choice.
In Jharkhand, higher secondary school sections of classes 8th to 12th, colleges, training and coaching institutes, skill development centers, parks, cinema halls and sports stadiums will open today. A report from our correspondent.
Senior secondary schools from classes 8 to 12, colleges, coaching and training institutes in Jharkhand will open from today. Cinema halls, community halls and parks in Jharkhand with 50% capacity will also become operational. Sports stadiums and swimming pools will also be reopened for players following the necessary COVID-19 protocols. Meanwhile, attendance for students of classes 8, 9th and 11th is not mandatory. They are informed to attend offline classes only after parents' permission. State government has also also issued a detailed advisory for serving midday meals in schools and standard operating procedures for learning with physical and social distancing. Vaccination Drive for senior citizens in designated COVID vaccination centers and 8 private hospitals of the state will also begin from today. The state government has also directed to ensure 100% vaccination of health workers before reopening of Anganwadi centers in the state from April 1st. Shilpi, AIR News, Ranchi.
Odisha government has made the coronavirus test mandatory for people arriving from 5 states. Odisha Health Minister Naba Kishore Das said that passengers arriving from Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Kerala, Punjab and Madhya Pradesh will undergo screening tests at the airport in the state. He said that if found symptomatic, they will undergo an antigen test. Those testing COVID positive will be kept under isolation. Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry deputed high-level multidisciplinary teams to Maharashtra, Kerala, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Punjab, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal and Jammu and Kashmir on 24th of February for supporting them in public health measures for targeted COVID response and management. More from our Bhubaneswar correspondent.
According to information, the mandatory home isolation of people arriving from the specified states can, however, be dispensed with for asymptomatic passengers upon production of RT-PCR report done within 72 hours of boarding or COVID vaccination final certificate. Meanwhile, the state has witnessed a little spike in its active caseload that has jumped from 631 a week ago to 703 as of now. On the other hand, the state is all set to begin COVID vaccination of eligible citizens in the identified government and private health facilities. Girish Chandra Das, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
Meanwhile, a total of 197 fresh cases of COVID-19 were recorded in Delhi during the last 24 hours, taking the total number of affected people in the city to over 6,39,000. The Delhi government has said that over 6,27,000 people have recovered from the infection so far. In the last 24 hours, 168 people have recovered and 1 death was reported in the city. Presently, the total number of active cases in Delhi is 1,335. Meanwhile, the recovery rate stands at 97.1% in the country. In the last 24-hour period, 11,718 people were discharged after recovery. 16,752 new cases were reported and 113 people lost their lives.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked people not to lower guard against corona. Sharing his thoughts with the people of the country and world in his Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio yesterday, the Prime Minister said there should not be any laxity in the rules regarding corona. Mr. Modi emphasized that Atmanirbhar Bharat is a national spirit that makes every citizen of the country take pride and not just an economic campaign. He expressed happiness that the mantra of self-reliant India is reaching the remote villages of the country.
आत्मनिर्भरता की पहली शर्त होती है अपने देश की चीजों पर गर्व होना, अपने देश के लोगों द्वारा बनाई वस्तुओं पर गर्व होना। जब प्रत्येक देशवासी गर्व करता है, प्रत्येक देशवासी जुड़ता है, तो आत्मनिर्भर भारत सिर्फ एक आर्थिक अभियान न रहकर एक नेशनल स्पिरिट बन जाता है। जब आसमान में हम अपने देश में बने फाइटर प्लेन तेजस को कलाबाजियां खाते देखते हैं, जब भारत में बने टैंक, भारत में बनी मिसाइलें हमारा गौरव बढ़ाते हैं, जब समृद्ध देशों में हम मेट्रो ट्रेन के मेड इन इंडिया कोचेस देखते हैं, जब दर्जनों देशों तक मेड इन इंडिया कोरोना वैक्सीन को पहुंचते ही देखते हैं, तो हमारा माथा और ऊंचा हो जाता है। हर क्षेत्र में हमें इस गौरव को बढ़ाना होगा। जब हम इसी सोच के साथ आगे बढ़ेंगे, तभी सही मायने में आत्मनिर्भर बन पाएंगे।
The Prime Minister stressed on the need of water conservation. He urged people to start a 100-day campaign for cleaning up water sources and to harvest rainwater.
पानी को लेकर हमें इसी तरह अपनी सामूहिक जिम्मेदारियों को समझना होगा। भारत के ज्यादातर हिस्सों में मई जून में बारिश शुरू होती है। क्या हम अभी से अपने आसपास के जल स्रोतों की सफाई के लिए, वर्षा जल के संचयन के लिए 100 दिन का कोई अभियान शुरू कर सकते हैं? इसी सोच के साथ अब से कुछ दिन बाद जल शक्ति मंत्रालय द्वारा भी जल शक्ति अभियान कैच द रेन भी शुरू किया जा रहा है। इस अभियान का मूल मंत्र है कैच द रेन वेयर इट फॉल्स व्हेन इट फॉल्स, हम अभी से जुटेंगे, हम पहले से जो रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग सिस्टम है उन्हें दुरुस्त करवा लेंगे, गांवों में, तालाबों में, पोखरों की सफाई करवा लेंगे, जल स्रोतों तक जा रहे पानी के रास्ते की रुकावटें दूर कर लेंगे, तो ज्यादा से ज्यादा वर्षा जल का संचयन कर पाएंगे।
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive to cover senior citizens and people above 45 years with comorbidities begins today. Registration for vaccination to open at 9 this morning at www.cowin.gov.in. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets vaccinated at AIIMS, New Delhi, appeals people to come forward for vaccination to make the country corona-free. 10,000 government hospitals to provide free-of-cost vaccine. Private hospitals to charge 250 rupees per dose. Odisha makes corona test mandatory for people arriving from 5 states. Class 1 to 5 in schools to open today in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Last date for filing of GST returns for 2019-20 fiscal extended till 31st of this month. Budget session of Maharashtra and Gujarat assemblies begins today. Bidding for 6th round of spectrum auction for radio waves to start today. And Vinesh Fogart bags gold in Ukraine wrestling event. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Ministry of Finance has extended the due date for furnishing of the annual returns GSTR-9 and GSTR-9C for the financial year 2019-20 to the 31st of this month. In a statement, the Finance Ministry said that the due date was extended with the approval of Election Commission of India. The ministry said the decision to this effect was taken in view of the difficulties expressed by the taxpayers in meeting this time limit. Earlier, the government had extended the due date of furnishing the annual returns from 31st of December 2020 to 28th of February 2021. The budget session of Maharashtra legislature will begin today. The session will start with the address of Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari to joint sitting of the State Legislative Assembly and Council. The session is likely to be a stormy one, with the opposition BJP expected to corner the state government over various issues. The 10-day-long budget session will have 8 working days, and the budget will be tabled on March 8th. Bills pertaining to departments such as revenue, higher education and home are likely to be taken up. More from our Mumbai correspondent.
The state budget session is normally held for 6 weeks, but in view of the current pandemic situation in the state, it has been curtailed. The state government will table supplementary demands on the first day, and the House will hold discussions on the governor's speech tomorrow. The next 2 days are reserved for discussion on supplementary demands, but on the other hand, the opposition BJP has made its intention clear to corner the state government on various issues like death of Pooja Chavan, handling of COVID-19 crisis, fire in Bhandara Hospital, appointment of the Speaker in the Legislative Assembly, and alleged corruption in various government departments. The government is also likely to face questions from the opposition over the incidents of atrocities against women in COVID care centers and delay in help to farmers affected by floods and cyclone in parts of the state. Shailesh Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
The month-long budget session of Gujarat Assembly will begin today. The session will begin with the address of Governor Acharya Devrat. Deputy Chief Minister Nitin Patel, who also holds finance portfolio, will present the budget on Wednesday. The budget session will continue till 1st of April. Mr. Patel has launched the Gujarat Budget mobile application recently to enable government officials, legislators and other citizens to access budgetary provisions on their mobile phones. In Gujarat, more than 61% turnout has been recorded for the polling of 81 municipalities, 31 districts and 231 taluka panchayats. According to official sources, the polling remains peaceful barring some sporadic incidents. Polling for by-elections of 23 municipalities and 3 taluka panchayats were also held simultaneously. Counting of votes will take place on Tuesday. More details from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
The fate of more than 22,000 candidates for 8,302 seats of municipalities, district and taluka panchayats has been sealed in EVMs. Rural voters have shown more enthusiasm in comparison to their urban counterparts. About 60% turnout in municipalities, district and taluka panchayat elections is 14% higher than the 46% turnout recorded for 6 municipal corporations earlier. According to sources, about 55% turnout recorded for 81 municipalities, 63% turnout recorded for 31 district panchayats, and 64% turnout recorded for 231 taluka panchayats. Polling was held under the strict COVID-19 protocols. Yogesh Pandya, Air News, Ahmedabad.
The bidding for telecom spectrum auction will commence from today. It will be conducted online. Communication Ministry has said that the auction will be held for spectrum in 700 MHz, 800 MHz, 900 MHz, 1800 MHz, 2100 MHz, 2300 MHz and 2500 MHz frequency bands. The spectrum will be offered for assignment for validity period of 20 years. A total of over 2,251 megahertz is being offered with a total valuation of more than 3,92,332 crore rupees. The ministry said spectrum auction is a transparent process of spectrum assignment to successful bidders. The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, had approved a proposal of the Department of Telecommunications to conduct spectrum auction through which spectrum will be assigned to the successful bidders for providing commercial mobile services. By winning right to use spectrum through the auction, incumbent telecom service providers will be able to augment their network capacity, whereas new players will be able to start their services. The government has decided to form Centre of Excellence in Gaming and other related areas in collaboration with IIT Bombay. Addressing the opening ceremony of virtual exhibition and prize announcement of Khel Khel Mein through video conference yesterday, Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar said IIT will start the courses from this year itself.
The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, in collaboration with IIT Bombay, has decided to form a Centre of Excellence in Gaming and other related areas. And IIT will start courses from this year itself. So, we are at an advanced stage of preparation, but let us see when the new session begins in 2021, because from that time onward, it will come into effect.
The 4th edition of Prime Minister's Interaction Program Pariksha Pachacha will be held this month. The program will be held virtually. Through this program, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a brainstorming session with school students, teachers and parents in connection with the upcoming examinations. A report.
The registration process for the program is underway on MyGov platform and it will remain open till 14th of March. The participants of this program will be selected through an online competition on MyGov platform. The questions related to dealing with examination stress from school students of class 9 to 12 will be invited through the platform and selected questions will be featured in the program. About 2,000 school students, teachers and parents from all across the country are to be selected winners and there will be attractive prizes for the winners. Some of the winners will get the chance to ask a question to Prime Minister. The selected participants will be taking part in the program online from their respective state and union territory headquarters and will be presented with a special Pariksha Pe Charcha kit. With Dipendra Kumar, Suparna Saikia, AIR News, Delhi.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Maritime India Summit 2021 tomorrow through video conferencing. The 3-day summit will be held till 4th of March. The Maritime India Summit is being organized by the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways on a virtual platform www.maritimeindiasummit.in.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, more than 22,000 free and cashless treatments have been provided to eligible beneficiaries under Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana ABPMJAY Sehat scheme in the first 2 months. AIR Jammu correspondent reports that since the launch of the scheme for the development of healthcare services, more than 30 lakh residents of the UT have already registered, covering about 56% of the families. In Myanmar, at least 18 people were killed as police and armed forces unleashed force on the protesters demanding restoration of civilian government and release of the deposed state councillor Aung San Suu Kyi. The Office of the High Commissioner of UN Human Rights Organization said in a statement that it has received credible information that at least 18 people have died and more than 30 wounded due to use of force against peaceful demonstrations.
Indian wrestler Vinesh Fogart has won the gold medal in the women's 53 kg category at 24th Outstanding Ukrainian Wrestlers and Coaches Memorial in Kyiv, Ukraine. Vinesh Fogart defeated world number 7 Vanessa Kalazinskaya of Belarus in the finals to win the gold medal and make a winning return to her first competitive outing since the COVID-19 induced lockdown. The 26-year-old will be seen in action in the season's first ranking tournament from March 4 to 7 in Rome. The 78th edition of the Golden Globe Awards are underway, with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey hosting proceedings from Los Angeles and New York. The ceremony, which recognizes excellence in film and television, is being held virtually this year because of the coronavirus pandemic. While nominees dialed in from home, the live audience was made up of frontline workers and first responders. The nominees for the Golden Globes were revealed on February 3rd. This time, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the organization behind the awards, is honoring films and TV shows released in 2020 and early 2021. Mank, Nomadland and The Father are among this year's most nominated films. British actor Daniel Kaluuya was among the early victors, winning Best Supporting Actor for his performance in Judas and the Black Messiah. John Boyega was also named Best Supporting Actor in a limited series for his role Steve McQueen's BBC program Small Axe. Other early winners included Mark Ruffalo for Best Actor in a limited series and Pixar's Soul, which won Best Animated Film.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. Srinagar, Jammu and Leh will have mainly clear skies. Srinagar temperature rising from 1 degree Celsius may see upper limit of 12 degrees. Jammu's temperature will vary between 13 degrees Celsius to 26 degrees. Leh's minimum temperature was -8 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be nearly 8 degrees. Gilgit will also have mainly clear sky with temperature hovering between 6 and 18 degrees Celsius. The sky will be sunny in Muzaffarabad with temperature hovering between 8 and 24 degrees Celsius. In Dehradun, the minimum temperature was 13 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 31 degrees. Chandigarh will have mainly clear sky. National capital Delhi will have clear sky during the day.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. All the dailies have mentioned about the start of phase 2 of the COVID jab from today. Next phase of vaccine drive kickstarts today, states the Hindustan Times. Invoking his government's Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, the Prime Minister urges the use of Indian goods in his Mann Ki Baat address on Sunday. PM Modi calls for 100-day drive to clean water bodies, notes the Tribune. The Hindu on its front page writes about the first dedicated mission of the space agency's commercial arm, New Space India Limited. The Statesman informs student-built satellites Modi Image and Geeta ride into space on PSLV C-51. 9 banks, 2 non-bank lenders to infuse 7,000 crore rupees in bad bank, reports the Economic Times. Data, artificial intelligence, fastest growing job clusters in the world is another headline in the Tribune. The Times of India notes most Gulmarg hotels booked till mid-April as the mercury shoots up in planes. And finally, a Hindu business line headline writes, lockdown helps Doordarshan grab more eyeballs with reruns of nostalgic entertainment offerings.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive to cover senior citizens and people above 45 years with comorbidities begins today. Registration for vaccination to open at 9 this morning at www.cowin.gov.in. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets vaccinated at AIIMS, New Delhi. Appeals people to come forward for vaccination to make the country corona-free. 10,000 government hospitals to provide free-of-cost vaccine. Private hospital to charge 250 rupees per dose. Odisha makes corona test mandatory for people arriving from 5 states. Class 1 to 5 in schools to open today in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Last date for filing of GST returns for 2019-20 fiscal extended till 31st of this month. Budget session of Maharashtra and Gujarat assemblies begins today. Bidding for 6th round of spectrum auction for radio waves to start today. And Vinesh Phogat bags gold in Ukraine wrestling event. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.